My favorite switch is now available on the Razer Huntsman TKL. It now also comes with 8000 Hz polling and foam to reduce/resolve pinging, making me very excited for today's review. But I've been bamboozled, as not all is as it is cracked up to be. So, let's get nerdy. Razer Huntsman V2 TKL is my favorite keyboard to date from Razer. It now comes with 8000 Hz hyperpolling and foam dampening to improve acoustics and absorb pinging noises. The double-shot PBT keycaps, while nice, greatly limit the Chroma RGB lighting, but sit atop Razer's optical switches, which continue to be some of the fastest on the market. Coming in either linear red or clicky purple, it sports a small footprint, aluminum top plate, detachable USB-C cable, and weighs 1.7 grams, making it hyper portable, while still supporting fully programmable keys, on-the-fly macro recording, and key rollover with anti-ghosting, hybrid onboard memory profiles, and a plush leatherette wrist rest. But some will be disappointed with its lack of pass-through or dedicated media keys, not to mention the eye-watering $160 it retails for. Make sure to like this video and hit that subscribe button. We start today's journey with Razer's optical switches. One of the main draws is the newish thin shape and that each key has a stabilizer, leading to a balanced key press no matter where your finger hits. And boy, do they feel glorious. So they are very consistent in feel, and I don't notice any wobble on any of the keys. Due to less moving parts, they have a very long lifespan. Some may even go so far as saying that you'll die before this keyboard does. Just kidding, nobody says that. But those with eagle eyes will see that these savior stabilizers have a hideous secret. They like to make noise. Yeah, oh, hide your children, hide your wife, as the metal stabilizer bars are not secure and easily move back and forth. Yeah, the stuff of nightmares. But seriously, I've never noticed this on any of my Razer keyboards, but people complain about it all the time, which leaves me thinking, what the heck are you guys doing? Are you playing like the maracas with your keyboard? Because if so, that's kind of weird. Next, we'll be exploring the optical nature of these switches. Keyboard switch has a chain of 3 links. Those links are an actuation point, a reset point, and a debounce delay. For mechanical switches, you have a metallic contact point, which activates after going past the actuation point. When you release the switch, it will go past a reset point, allowing the key to be registered again, and they add a debounce delay to prevent unintended clicks, known as key chatter, from registering while the spring resets, which slows down the entire chain as they are independent of each other. With Razer's optical switches, instead of actuating via a metallic contact point, it is by light, making the actuation point and reset point the same, and since they're optical, they have no debounce delay, making it nearly instant. And wow, this all sounds great, but does it actually make a difference? The answer is a reserved yes. Most people probably won't notice a difference and will claim that those who do partake in a little too much crack. And while it is true that we are splitting hairs here, especially because mechanical switches have come a long way, I still find optical switches to be superior as they are more reliable and more responsive, if only by a very mild amount. And for me, anything that reduces latency, getting me closer to 1-to-1, the better, especially when you pair them with the stem and stabilizer design. Finishing up this part of the journey, Razer has 2 types of optical switches, starting with their red linear switches. They've leveled up by having their actuation force changed from 40 to 45 grams. The actuation point has gone from 1.0 millimeters to 1.2 millimeters and now comes lubed, as previously people found them to be a little too loud and obnoxious, especially since most linear switches are relatively quiet, while being too light, which led to too many accidental clicks. Up next is their purple clicky switch, which is my favorite switch of all time, as they are excellent if you enjoyed a mild tactile bump and audible click. They require 45 grams to move and actuate at 1.5 millimeters. They feel very light and satisfying, but the sound of the click may sound like music or nails on a chalkboard, depending on your preference. They were also known to cause significant ping due to the nature of the switch and the hollowness of their boards, which is why they've added foam to the inside, which dramatically cuts down/resolves pinging noises while improving acoustics and sounds, and feels so much better, and is probably the biggest pro to this keyboard, as most other mainstream boards don't have foam or lubing, where the custom market keyboard often does, making those superior. I really can't underestimate how dramatic this change is, and I hope other mainstream brands follow suit. Now I'm going to go into a test. I'll be testing this on the Huntsman Mini that doesn't come with foam, which is unfortunate, but it does come in this sexy white color that I wish the Huntsman TKL did. The second reason why I was so excited for this keyboard was the 8000 Hz hyper polling rate. As I picked up my Corsair K100 and threw it through the window, not realizing that I'd been bamboozled. I can't help but feel a bit hurt. Why would you do this to me, Razer? I thought we were friends. In the spec sheet, they report, and I quote, it comes with Razer's hyper polling technology with up to true 8000 Hz polling rate, leading me to incorrectly think this is the same as Corsair's Axon processing that supports 4000 Hz key scanning and 8000 Hz hyper polling. But Razer doesn't list their key scanning anywhere. I even reached out to Razer and they couldn't answer my question, leading me to conclude that I've misled myself, accidentally but purposely, down a sinister path. You see, when you press a switch on a keyboard, the key scanning registers what exact key has been pressed, a demounce delay happens, processor processes this information, and then the polling rate transmits that info and the process repeats. With Corsair's Axon, the key scanning is 4000 Hz or 0.25 milliseconds. There is no debounce delay, the processing time is nearly instant, and the hyper polling is 8000 Hz or 0.125 milliseconds, leading to an overall response time of approximately 0.25 milliseconds, which is freakishly fast. I thought I was getting the same thing with this board, but the key scanning is 1000 Hz instead of 4000 Hz, leading to 1 millisecond of delay, already making it 4 times slower, but has no debounce delay due to the optical switches and has who knows how long of processing time, as Razer doesn't mention a chip like Corsair's, but ends with the same 8000 Hz hyper polling, leading me to believe click time to be around 2-ish milliseconds, which is a lot slower than I was expecting. Now, if you're using that big brain of yours, you may be scratching your head going 0.25 milliseconds, 2 milliseconds, does it really matter? And with an emphatic yes, I say it does. Okay, not really. We are totally splitting hairs again because that's what I like to do on this channel. But personally, when I use my Corsair board, it feels a lot smoother, improving my performance compared to using the Razer keyboard or another normal 1000 Hz keyboard. It is minor difference to me, but feels like 144 Hz compared to 240 Hz on a screen, where I can perform well with 144 Hz, but things are more smooth and accurate at 240 Hz. I notice mostly in games that require dodging or heavy movement specific, such as Apex Legends, or in driving games. Or maybe I'm just completely full of crap, it's all placebo, the key scanning is actually 8000 Hz, making the Razer board faster, and I don't know what I'm talking about. In my opinion, 8000 Hz on this keyboard, while factually correct, is put stealthily in their marketing so they can hope to mislead you and so they can charge a higher price for it, despite not really gaining anything. If I would have known this coming into it, I probably wouldn't have bought this board, as that was a critical reason why I jumped on it. I'll let you decide on what you think. Predatory marketing? Me just being an idiot? I don't know. Let me know in the comments section below. It comes with Razer's Chroma RGB, which continues to be the best lighting you can get on a keyboard. However, the double shot PBT keycaps and thin lettering severely limit the brightness of the keyboard, making it come across as lackluster. I've switched mine out for glorious Aurora keycaps V2, and it completely transformed the lighting, making me love it. Links for those keycaps are down in the description. You could also try Razer's Phantom keycaps, which are similar. I haven't tried them though, but back to the actual PBT keycaps that it comes stock with. They are solid, but I wouldn't say great. They feel good, have attractive font, and highlight secondary keys, but they don't feel as good or are as consistent as other PBT keycaps I've tried. They are also very flat, so they don't push your finger into the center of the switch, so in general, think this was a miss from Razer, as the caps themselves are average for PBT keycaps, but still way better than ABS keycaps, and severely limit the Chroma RGB lighting, making them just bad, period, especially when you consider the premium you are paying for this board. One of my favorite parts of this keyboard is the detachable USB-C cable. It's 5.91 feet, meaning it should reach your PC without any issues no matter where it is. It is braided and moderately stiff. Most importantly, it is thin, making it almost disappear on your desk. But the end has a proprietary port which helps it slide into place on this keyboard, but limits its use on other keyboards. Overall, it is solid, but for the pricing, I wanted something better. A lot of others will also be a huge fan of the ergonomic Plush leatherette wrist rest. It fits the keyboard perfectly and is padded, making it very comfortable. It has the same overall design as the keyboard, which is nice, but if I could get this keyboard for $10 to $30 less, I'd definitely prefer not having it or being able to purchase it separately. It has no pass-through port, which will bum some people out. It also doesn't have any dedicated media keys, which definitely bums me out, as I often use them for keybinds such as muting myself in Discord, but it does have secondary keys by utilizing the function key. Going left to right, you have function plus F1, which mutes all sound, function plus F2 reduces volume, and function plus 3 increases volume. Second function plus F5 goes back, function plus F6 plays/pauses, and function F7 goes forward. So I'm going to show you how to do a macro recording really quick. So on the fly macro recording is pretty basic and easy. You simply press the function and then F9, then you type something or do whatever you want to do, and then function F9 again, and then you put it to the key you want it, and then you're all set. And now if I press that button again, it will execute the command. You can also cancel out of it. So say you type something, you're like, I don't want this. If you just press the escape key, it'll cancel everything out. But then if you want to delete that, you have to go into the software and set it back to default. In order to do on-the-fly macro recordings, you actually need to have Razer Synapse open on the thing. You can't do it without the software. However, once you save that keybind to something on your keyboard, you can then close out of Razer Synapse and it'll still execute. If you still have Razer Synapse open, then you need to make sure that you have the macro module downloaded, or else you won't be able to actually use the macro unless if you exit out of the software. So all of that is a little bit weird, but now you know. The last few is function plus F10 activates the gaming mode, which can disable Windows key, menu/apps key, Alt Tab, or Alt F4, or in all of those, or just one or two of those. You can select it in Razer Synapse. Function plus F11 reduces the brightness of the keys, and you guessed it, function F12 increases it. Last, function plus print screen will put your computer to sleep, which is one of my favorites. The last button combo is the function plus control, and then the 1 through 7 keys to change lighting effects without software. But if you do opt to use Razer Synapse, you have the ability to program what every key does, which can be doubled with Hypershift. All of this can be saved to the cloud too, which I like a lot, but you have to go through and edit each peripheral as it doesn't automatically transfer over, which I think is really dumb. You also still can't save custom lighting despite it having 5 onboard memory profiles, which simply blows my mind. Overall, I enjoy Razer Synapse, but a lot of people hate it as it's been abusive in the past, making people skittish to return. It's also not the most user-friendly. As for the build quality, I have no complaints, and it feels really solid, but I think most people will find that it actually feels cheap, even though it isn't. It has an aluminum top plate, but since it doesn't have any texture to it, and because it's so minimal, it's hard to tell if it is even there in the first place. The rest of it is plastic, and it only weighs 1.7 pounds, which makes it great for portability, but not feel very solid. The keys are also very light, and with rattling of the stabilizers, it can increase the feeling of cheapness. With that said, I noticed no flex anywhere on the keyboard, and under scrutiny, everything is just solid. It comes with 4 small rubber feet which keep it in place, and the 2-step horizontal feet stay up even with movement. Overall, I think if they stylize the top plate, that would go a long way with making this keyboard look and feel more premium. So, moving on to the conclusion, this is an excellent keyboard and my favorite from Razer to date. The pros outweigh the cons, but for the cost, it has more cons than I would like, such as the stock PBT keycaps being average and severely limiting the Chroma RGB lighting. The 8000 Hz polling rate is practically pointless with 1000 Hz key scanning, making this feel more like a gimmick than a useful feature. There is no pass-through port, and more importantly to me, no dedicated media keys, but they are accessible through secondary keys. I think most people will likely trade out the stock keys for aftermarket ones, which also makes you need to memorize what the secondary keys are and spend even more money. Razer's optical switches are excellent. The improvements to the red linear switches is greatly appreciated, but some may find annoyance with the stabilizers. The USB-C cable is thin but stiff and has a specific shape that limits its use on other peripherals. The build quality is solid, but due to it weighing 1.7 pounds and having a mostly plastic design and very light keys, it can come across as being cheap. Chroma RGB is gorgeous with aftermarket keycaps. The foam padding makes a dramatic difference with sound and feel for the better. It has a very small footprint, and the ergonomic plush leatherette wrist rest is excellent and matches up exactly with the keyboard. It has solid rubber pads to keep it from moving. Adjustable steps are stiff enough that they don't collapse with movement. The fully programmable keys on the fly macro recording and key rollover with anti-ghosting and 5 onboard memory profiles are premium, but I still find this keyboard to be about $30 too expensive, and I think a price point around $120 to $130 would be ideal. If you're in the market for a new keyboard, I definitely recommend checking out some of my other reviews before you make a purchase. My recommendations would be the Corsair K70 Pro that you can find right here, or my personal favorite, the Corsair K100 right here, or you can stay in the family with my review of the Razer Huntsman Elite right there, or the Razer Huntsman Mini right there. Soon, I'll also be releasing the Razer Huntsman Elite V2 Analog. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a dislike. And of course, if you want to see more like this, hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, I'll see you and your beautiful face on the next one. God bless and peace out.